Welcome in to another episode of my Dynasty Fantasy Football YouTube. Today, I'm bringing back my 5 takeaways series. I'll be dropping this every Monday from now until the NFL season, covering that week's slate. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's jump into my first takeaway from preseason week 1. The Marquise Brown injury. It's a sternoclavicular injury that will force him to miss time. Week 1 seems to be in danger. At this point, Brown is a full fade for me. I moved him down 13 overall spots in Dynasty down to wide receiver 49. We saw that Sky Moore was the clear replacement for Brown. I guess it gives him one last bit of life as a Dynasty stash. Moore played 5 of 6 snaps in Brown's role, but I'd take anything I could get for Moore, with a 26th third being the most optimistic. Honestly, I'd take any fourth for Sky Moore. Beyond that, Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice are gaining steam. Rice played all 6 Chiefs snaps with the starters. Worthy played the 4 snaps and 11 personnel. But if Brown is out, Worthy will be one of the 2 starting wide receivers alongside Rashee Rice. Overall, the main takeaway is that the Marquise Brown situation is not going to happen. Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy could be fantasy relevant starting in week 1. Second takeaway, Jermaine Burton is buried on the depth chart. Burton failed to play any of the 13 snaps with the Bengals' first team offense. Andre Yoshavash, T. Higgins, and Trenton Irwin with the starting 3 wide receiver set with Jamar Chase sitting out. Now, some might say, well, we saw Burton had 3 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. That's going to be misleading because it all came against 3rd or 4th string players near the end of the game. It was not where we wanted it to be. I guarantee you, when we get to week 1, Jermaine Burton will not be a starter in 3 wide receiver sets. We are so far away from that. And Jamar Chase didn't even play in this game. So we're in really bad shape with Jermaine Burton. I've already dropped him in Dynasty down to wide receiver 57. I'm not panicking yet, but I am seriously concerned. We know that 3rd round picks are not guaranteed anything. I mean, 3rd round picks wash out of the NFL with no real opportunity given quite a few times. And this is a really bad start. So I'm definitely lowering on Jermaine Burton. I don't like him as a redraft sleeper anymore. He's moved down a lot in Dynasty. The camp buzz has been kind of like there's been highlights, but overall, in terms of being a reliable contributor to the offense, it's been negative. So I'm definitely lower on Jermaine Burton, and it's something to keep an eye on in the next couple of preseason games. Next up, the Bears receiving offense may be frustrating. We might have some issues with the Bears, 2 issues, because of very incompetent offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. 2 problems. Problem number 1, the tight end usage. We have a big problem here. This is a big problem. Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett were co-starters at best. Everett actually played more snaps with the starters, 14 of 20 snaps with the starters, while Kmet just played 11 of 20. Everett ran more routes than Cole Kmet. Another problem. I already had concerns with Kmet in this crowded offense. There are 3 wide receivers ahead of him in the target pecking order for sure. But he's not even going to be a full-time tight end in this offense. He's totally worthless. Totally worthless. So for me, I'd add Everett, I guess, in tight end premium leagues. I don't think he's going to be relevant, but, you know, there are worse flyers. As for Kmet, we're way past the point of any value for Cole Kmet. If you can get any second for Kmet, even the tight end premium, I would take it. I think you're just going to have no use for Cole Kmet. I mean, it would take 2 or 3 injuries to make Cole Kmet relevant this year. Even if we need to add a 4th to Cole Kmet to get a second, I would absolutely do it. I'm just done with Cole Kmet. Take a 3rd or 2/3 in a non-tight end premium league, whatever it takes to get rid of Cole Kmet. When we see this week 1, Cole Kmet's value is going to be in the dumpster. Problem number 2 with the Bears offense. Rome Odunze is only playing in 3 wide receiver sets. He played on the outside in those 3 wide receiver sets, but he came off the field for every 12 personnel snap. Odunze only played 11 of 20 snaps with the starters. Hopefully we see more work from Odunze as the season progresses. I don't know. I mean, he did play on the outside, so he's not a slot-only receiver, but it is concerning that he didn't even get 1 chance to play on the outside in 2 wide receiver sets. They're preferring Keenan Allen in that role. So there are some small short-term concerns with Rome Odunze. I'm not nearly as concerned here as I was with Cole Kmet, because I do think Odunze is a rookie and might progress as we go, but it's something to keep an eye on. Now, if you like my YouTube content, you should sign up for the Patreon. You get my rankings, access to the Discord, and the ability to ask in advance questions for the YouTube videos. Tiers begin at just $6 a month and include all of that. Also, we're entering redraft and start-sit season, which will only be covered on the Patreon. This YouTube channel will remain solely focused on Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you want to know more about the Patreon, check out my Why You Should Join the Patreon video on this channel. It'll explain everything that I'm offering. I really appreciate everyone who signed up and any new patrons who join. With that said, let's jump into our next player takeaway. Jahan Dotson, not Luke McCaffrey, is the Commanders' slot wide receiver. Both Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson played all 11 snaps with the Stars. Jahan Dotson actually remained in the game for a long time. But the key thing was not that. It's what happened in 11 personnel. Now, I was hoping to see more out of Luke McCaffrey. But the scary thing wasn't that Luke McCaffrey didn't play. The scary thing is that in 11 personnel, the Commanders used Dotson in the slot, not one of the ancillary players like Jermaine Brown or Olamide Zaccheaus being added as a slot player. They used Dotson in the slot there. Now, I don't think that Dotson is going to be fantasy relevant because he hasn't earned targets over the last couple of years. Production was kind of meh. But I will say, if they're going to use Jahan Dotson in the slot, where's the hope for Luke McCaffrey? That was where Luke McCaffrey is going to play. Luke McCaffrey is not going to play on the outside. That is not, I don't see that as being realistic. So, yeah, this is really kind of a death blow for Luke McCaffrey. Again, he's a third-round wide receiver. I really was hoping he would earn the slot role, but doesn't look like that happened, at least not in preseason week 1. And, Jahan Dotson is a first-round wide receiver. Yes, he's had 2 meh years, but I would still think that Dotson is ahead of McCaffrey. And if they're competing for that slot role, I don't like Luke McCaffrey nearly as much. Clearly, they've gone to a different type of offense than what they did last year, where Curtis Samuel played that role. So, yeah, it's something to watch out for. I still, again, this would be an opportunity to sell Dotson. If you could get your second-round pick for Dotson right now, I would do it. I more brought this up because I kind of liked Luke McCaffrey over the last couple of months, but he's definitely lowering for me. Last one, Jelani Woods is finished. Despite the hype at times, Woods did absolutely nothing in his game against the Broncos. Kylan Granson, Mo Alley-Cox, and Drew Ogletree all saw time with the first team. But not Woods. Woods can be cut in all non-premium leagues, most tight end premium leagues as well. I honestly think that Woods' roster spot on the Colts is not guaranteed. I'm not saying you should target a different Colts tight end. I'm just saying that you shouldn't target a Colts tight end at all. They played a majority 11 personnel. They have 3 startable wide receivers in Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and Adonai Mitchell. And no, I don't mean startable for fantasy. I mean startable for their offense. Even with Josh Downs out, they are continuing to play 11 personnel. I think they're getting away from the constant 12 personnel that we've seen from the Colts in the past. So, this is why they brought Adonai Mitchell in, someone who could rotate between the Z and the slot. Jelani Woods is like 4th on the depth chart. He's finished. Goodbye. Now, as always, patrons get to ask advanced questions for the YouTube show. So I have 3 of them here. Let's jump into it. Can you talk about Travis Etienne's immediate and future outlook? Well, sure. I mean, in redraft, I have Travis Etienne as running back 8 in PPR. So I like him for this year. Tank Bigsby is kind of hit or miss. I'm not sure he's really going to eat into Etienne's production. As for the future, the Jags picked up Etienne's 5th-year option for 2025. So he'll be there for this year and next year. I'm a little bit concerned. I don't think that Travis Etienne is the type of running back who's going to get a really big contract. He just doesn't seem like that type of difference maker to me. So if you could sell Travis Etienne based on what his situation looks like now, if you get a 1st-round pick in a Dynasty Superflex League for Travis Etienne in 2025 first, I would probably do that and just move on. But otherwise, I guess for this year, I'm still kind of into Travis Etienne. Next up, best buy low running backs for cheap flex production. I mean, this never works. Buying these types of running backs, they usually don't work out. If I had to pick a couple, Brian Robinson. I think Brian Robinson will be startable this year. I don't know how cheap he is. Depends on your league. David Montgomery, if you don't care about the age, David Montgomery is going to be startable for some weeks this year. And then I would have said Chase Brown, but Chase Brown is getting expensive. He's getting expensive because people are realizing that Chase Brown, not Zach Moss, is the starter. So, yeah, it's generally hard to buy running backs. That's why I like drafting running backs. I like building my team around drafted running backs because the cheapest time to acquire running backs is in the rookie draft. Not the startup, the rookie draft. The rookie draft is the only time you can get running backs at market value. Otherwise, you have to overpay for them. So I like to focus on taking running backs in rookie drafts. Lastly, last question. Is Sam Howell a hold? Yes. In Dynasty Superflex, I would absolutely hold Sam Howell. He's someone who, we know that he's not a good real life NFL quarterback. Nobody's saying that. But for fantasy, he threw the ball all the time. He has great weapons in Seattle with DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Tyler Lockett. Also Noah Fant. Doesn't hurt. And if he ever went in, he would probably be a startable quarterback, especially in 6-point passing touchdown leagues. So in Superflex, this is the type of player that you probably hold on to forever. I don't think I'm ever going to say Sam Howell is a cut until he's not the backup on a team. To give you an idea, Jameis Winston is still someone I'm holding on to in all Superflex leagues. We just don't cut those types of backup quarterbacks in Dynasty Superflex. Now, if you like the video, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. We're going to do this 5 takeaways every week, giving takeaways from the preseason and then the regular season. We're going to do this series. I did this last year. People really enjoyed it. So we're going to bring it back this year. As always, the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. I want to hit that 3,000 subscriber mark. 14 away. So please help me get there before the NFL season. And don't forget to hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about all my exciting content as it drops. Of course, if you want my best fantasy football advice, it's available on the Patreon. Cover Dynasty on there too, but redraft and start sit are only for patrons. And you can get that on the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasy advice. And the link is in the top right corner right there. Every sign up helps support my independent content. But once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.